Bloody Queen is the most unfun hunter to play against. She is fundamentally flawed. Today I'll be indulging into why she's among one of the worst designed characters kit-wise in the game. Because I feel like this needs to be said, because no one else seems to be questioning the awful balancing decisions of Netties and their rather awful kit design with a good portion of their characters. And I also just, want to get my opinion on this out there, because it's a strong opinion I've had for a while that I've never really been able to share with anyone. So without further ado, let's delve into why I think she's one of the most poorly designed characters in the game. She has one real ability, and it's her mirror. She can place her mirror to create a mirror projection of herself that can hurt survivors and move through walls, and mirror every movement she makes. It's a fairly simple skill, but this one ability is extremely broken for one simple reason: lack of counterplay. Unless you're playing very meta survivors that can do something about the mirror, then you literally can't do anything. Nothing at all. This lack of counterplay is the main point of the video and why I think she's poorly designed. You, as most survivors, can do basically nothing against a good Bloody Queen, and that just makes the game feel really bad to play. Because no matter what you do, you'll just get hit anyway if she's any good at the game. Let's take, for example, a survivor like Prospector. You'd assume he'd have decent counterplay to Bloody Queen, right? Well, no. Maybe against a bad Bloody Queen, but against a good Bloody Queen, he just can't. If he tries to run towards her to stun her with a magnet, any good Bloody Queen will just use her mirror closer to herself, making that just impossible. And then you just get hit anyway. You could try keeping your distance, and you'll just get hit anyway because you're too far away to use your ability to stop her. There's nothing Pross can do against a really good Bloody Queen unless she messes up. And that's just not fun at all to experience. Being completely helpless and unable to do anything just feels really bad. And this lack of counterplay goes to all survivors. As any survivor, you can try to fake walking in certain directions via breaking line of sight and having erratic movements to try and make it harder for her to place mirror. But ultimately, if she's just patient, all you're doing is slightly extending your kite by forcing her to wait a bit longer to use her ability that you can't avoid whatsoever as most survivors due to her ability naturally countering most survivor skills. Speaking of, the only actual way to counter her mirror is with survivors that hard counter her, like Perfumer, Magician, maybe Puppeteer. Acrobat's more of a soft counter. Patient's a pretty decent counter. Weeping Clown's pretty decent, and Cheerleader looks pretty good against her. But I personally think this is bad game design. I think abilities as survivors should be there to make it easier to kite and not be a necessity to kite. Making certain abilities a necessity to kite just makes it feel bad to play as anyone else besides those counters to that hunter, or in this case, Bloody Queen. Given all your skills are rendered basically useless. Having zero real counterplay at a specific survivor to counter her ability is just really bad game design, and it's really unfun to go against. I know I've said this a lot, but I really need to emphasize how bad it feels to load into a match versus Bloody Queen and just feel so demoralized when I realize it's a Bloody Queen as a survivor like Psychologist or Bros or I don't know, Mind's Eye, but I'd feel bad as Mind's Eye against any decent hunter because I know there's nothing I can do when she goes for me. It's just GG. I can try, sure, but 99% of the time, when she doesn't fuck up, I'm just gonna get fucked. But let's take a look at a more balanced hunter. Like Violinist. Its ability can be quite strong if used properly, and has counterplay. If he uses it, it doesn't mean you're instantly fucked, like with Mirror. Bloody Queen's Mirror. you can dodge his notes, bait them out, and effectively position yourself to avoid them and kite all without any items being required to kite him. And for anyone saying all that applies to, Bloody Queen and her mirror, I mean, in theory it does, but in practice it's just impossible to do. It's literally just impossible. So argument doesn't work for Bloody Queen. But anyway, similar to Woo as well, we'll be taking first presence Woo because zero presence Woo, obviously anyone can kite, except maybe like my type brain damage. But even with first presence, his abilities, the umbrella, his bell, soul siphoning, his ridiculous hitbox, all have effective counterplay that don't require you to use any items to counter, which I really think should be the standard, because it being a necessity to play certain survivors to kite a hunter is really, really bad game design. Like, some survivors can be weaker against, like some hunters, yes. But making it genuinely impossible to kite them without certain survivors is awful game design for a game like this. And I could show more examples of, better hunters that, are balanced better, but you get the point. But what I'm trying to say here is that Bloody Queen and other uncounterable hunters, though none of them are as bad as Bloody Queen, should be reworked and adjusted in a way to make them have more counterplay without the need of items to counter them, and therefore be more fun to play against as any survivor. And you'd be able to actually play any survivor against them without feeling completely helpless and there being nothing you can really do. I think this way of balancing, instead of stupid balance decisions, like giving Bloody Queen a longer cooldown on her mirror, which, sure, that and the movement speed nerf made her into a hunter that can basically only get ties now, against good teams, she still is fundamentally flawed and unfun to play against, which is why she deserves some form of rework to actually make people more excited to go against her and actually have fun going against her instead of dreading it and being bored throughout the entire match. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts with all this and how I feel about how characters should be balanced and whatnot, and why Bloody Queen is just really poorly designed. Because I'm gonna be honest, whenever I get her in rank, I just feel very sad. I was like, oh, it's a Bloody Queen, and I just get really bored and demotivated. No, demotivated, demoralized, because I just know it's not gonna be a fun match. It'll either be a tie or a loss most of the time, because we fuck up in some way, one way or another. But yeah, that's just about it. That's all I really wanted to share. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, it feels so weird to say. But anyway, that's about it. Yeah.